Hi, my name is Imagination with a Healing Garden. I am a philosopher and a healer. And this is what happens when you take healer and philosopher and you merge them together. You create the healing garden. So I've been doing a lot of self work, exploration, trying to figure out who I am and work on my own identity, which is part of the healing process, especially when you get to the tail end of your healing journey. It's basically an exploration of who you are, what we're doing here, and where we are going. All of these questions are actually the core center of philosophy. And when I was 15, I started researching philosophy, and it brought me into this massive arena in my life where I started to study the root of philosophy, which was Greece and Rome. And you can't really get into philosophy without studying, at least for me, the psychology behind philosophy, the psychology behind the Greek and the Roman mind, why they would pursue something like philosophy to begin with, what exactly was going on in their society at that time, to start asking the questions, or to dissect or start dissecting the questions as to what exactly was taking place with the philosopher's mind. And one of the things that I noticed right away that's taken me years to really fully develop is that Rome actually had a beautiful balance to its culture. It had the arena in one aspect, it had slave ownership, and it had the Senate and the politics, and it also had theater, stage, and the university, philosophy. But what was most interesting to me during that time period was Alexandria. Now, everyone knows about the Library of Alexandria. So I sat down and I studied the library. And what I realized was the library was actually a part of a university. It was actually the University of Alexandria. And within this university was the first school or the first university of its kind, where it encompassed what we call today the liberal arts, except there was a massive equality with all of the arts, each individual art, whether it be music, poetry, writing, or stage and theatrics. Or on the flip side of all that, it was philosophy, the ability to study the concept of thinking. Now, there were a lot of things that the Roman mind valued in their psychology that we don't value today. And one of those things is actually the narcissist. The term narcissism comes from the Greek myth Narcissus, which is basically the story of a man who compared himself to a god, and as punishment, the gods made him fall in love with his own shadow. Which, if you actually look at what narcissism is in psychology today, it has nothing whatsoever to do with loving yourself. It's quite the opposite. So narcissism is actually a misnomer. So why the word? Where did it come from, and why are we using it? It's because it was glorified and viewed as self-love by the Romans. It was actually a point of pride. And during this culture, there were two concepts that really stuck out to me. You had the political arena with the Senate, but you also had the gladiators. Now, the gladiators were actually slaves that were forced to fight for the entertainment of the narcissists. The narcissists actually put them in the arena for their delight and their amusement. Now, on the flip side of the narcissist and the arena were the philosopher, who actually they valued and they prized a different kind of mindset, but there was a balance. So when Rome fell, Rome never fell. It evolved, it withdrew, and then it remarketed an unknown religion at that time called Christianity into a marketing campaign. They slapped narcissism, which they valued, into the religion, and they released it back into our culture as a marketing rebrand comeback, because Rome wanted to re claim its old plot power and glory. And they did. Now we have the Christian Roman Empire, which very much has roots seated in the narcissism that the Roman mind very much valued at that time. So what's happened, though, is over the decades and the centuries and the millennia, philosophy has been downplayed to the point of non-existence. It's a dead practice. And what that has done is it's left narcissism unchecked. During the Roman time, it was a beautiful balance of narcissism and taking and engaging in the political and the arena standpoint. But you also had the philosopher who could sit down and basically embrace the calm, quiet piece of a political debate without getting involved in emotions, without without involving the ego. So it was very much a concept of the ego versus humility, where if you were humble, you could embrace the philosopher side of life. If you had the ego that you wanted to glorify, and you could, you were free to do so, you became a narcissist and you were able to go in that route. But they were balanced and they kept each other in check. Now, today, there's no philosophy. There's just narcissists, which has grown and it's expanded. And now they have taken the politics side of everything, which is just this, it's not even a study anymore. It's just a declaration of who is right and who is wrong. And they get into these verbal debates, much like gladiators, who are basically arguing and screaming back and forth at each other, claiming that it's for our health, our purposes, whatever they want to talk about. At the end of the day, they've given us a very narrow box in which to fit into, which is the political arena, while the philosophers are basically discarded because we don't exist. So this is where the healing garden steps in and says, we need philosophers back. We need philosophy back. The thing is, philosophy, when you engage in it properly with formal debate and discussion, it actually builds up confidence and self-esteem. It gives you your voice. It helps you nurture your identity. All the things that the ego and the narcissist take away from us, the philosopher builds up. So really, there is this beautiful balance between philosopher and narcissist. And what we're seeing is a bunch of empaths rising out of this going, well, I'm an empath. Empath is not a point of pride. An empath is not born. An empath is a slave who was made to serve the narcissist by the narcissist. If you're an empath, it's because a narcissist has groomed you into obedience. That is what empathy is. That is what being an empath is. You have been groomed for slavery. Congratulations. But the philosopher actually takes back the identity through debate, through the practice of using your voice. You have the ability to build self-esteem, confidence, find your own identity and your own values in a peaceful, safe place in which you can rise up and enter into a philosophical debate with another person. Once you become confident enough to do this, you will be able to open up your defense system. And when you get to that point, you can welcome in the narcissist and out-argue them, which is really humbling for a narcissist. And it keeps the narcissist in check. If the narcissist has the ability to receive that kind of humility. In most cases, they don't, so don't worry about it. Don't engage with a narcissist. However, for you, as far as being an empath goes, as far as your ability to rebuild your voice and your identity, which was taken away from you, philosophy is truly the way to go because it allows you to nurture your ability to think, which was taken away from you by the narcissist through their abuse. So my way to combat all of this is to basically revive the Roman model, which is rebalancing and bringing back the philosopher to combat the narcissist. Because at the core of all philosophy is, well, the Rorschach print perspective, which is my concept of, at the end of the day, everything is just an opinion. And my opinion is no better than your opinion. Your opinion is no better than my opinion. So why are we all arguing over opinions? Now, the narcissist can scream and you can smile and say, and that's your opinion, which means you have taken their opinion and actually devalued it to the same playing field as yours. So now it's your opinion versus their opinion. Likewise, their opinion versus your opinion. However, because you have the ability to voice and state and you have your authority, which you use philosophy to nurture, you now are on level playing ground with the narcissist. However, because we've taken philosophy out of our culture, unfortunately, what's happened is would-be philosophers are being reduced to this slave mind. And they are denied education. But if you provide education to the empath, if you empower them through conscious awareness, these are the people who rise up and learn confidence through humility. Whereas the narcissist never achieves confidence because they never embrace humility. So there is very much the philosopher versus the narcissist. Yeah, it's a movement. I'm definitely leading it. It's very much something that I'm passionate about, and it's something that I'm very, very, this is it, is if you want to defeat a narcissist, become a philosopher. If you want to heal, become a philosopher. If you want to rise above your mental illness, become a philosopher. Because there is so much in philosophy when you learn how to think, when you learn how to question, when you learn how to argue, when you embrace humility to keep your mouth shut so you can learn. It puts you in such an advantageous playing field that suddenly everything, all the skills that the narcissist has that they lord over you are gone. It completely disempowers a narcissist. Philosophy is literally the cure all to handling a narcissist. So, this is an official invitation. Head on over to the Healing Garden. This is pretty much what we're doing there. If you're there already, I have classes coming up on July 10th where I basically embellish a lot more on this. I do motivational speaking and philosophy. I do trauma healing, trauma recovery, mental healing, and psychology through philosophy, debate, discussion, and raising your conscious awareness. Thank you so much for joining me, and may the kindest of words always find you.